So if you're a student and you feel like you spend most of your time at school and you never get your own personal time to study, then stick to me because in this video I'm going to be doing a live walkthrough whereby I build a sample weekly study schedule for a typical student who might be going to school from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. So I'm going to show you practically how you can slot in those high productive study sessions so that you can be able to skyrocket your grades. So let's jump to my screen and build a sample weekly timetable for a typical student who spends most of their time at school. So before we build this weekly schedule, there are a few concepts I want us to understand because if you understand these concepts, then they'll ensure that you're building a highly effective weekly study schedule that you can actually stick to, because you don't want to be one of those students who spends 3 hours making a colorful weekly study schedule, but 3 weeks in they forgot about it or they feel like it's super unrealistic, therefore they no longer use it anymore. So if you understand these concepts, they're going to help you build an effective weekly study schedule. So the first concept is the energy management mindset. So most students feel like time management is about managing their time, squeezing as many study hours into their day as possible. But instead, time management is about managing your energy, meaning that understanding when is your peak productivity period, when is your energy dip period, and your recharge time period, right? And most of the times, the peak productivity period for most people is in the morning when they're fully rested. And keyword there, fully rested. Most of the times, we feel like mornings don't work for us because we stay up late until 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and we want to wake up at 6 a.m. or 5 a.m., highly motivated and highly productive, which is highly unlikely, right? So, if you fully rested, then that's when you'll have a peak productivity period in the morning. I'm going to speak about the importance of sleep later, but for now, this is one concept I want you to understand. And now that you understand the energy management mindset, you must prioritize your energy and not your time. What do I mean? In those peak productivity period, which is usually in the morning, make sure that you schedule those deep work sessions so you're tackling those difficult subjects. I know what you're thinking right now, blessing. I go to school at 8 a.m. So how am I going to schedule those deep work sessions in the morning, right? I wake up every day at 4 a.m. and by 5 a.m. I'm sitting at my work desk and I'm making sure that I'm crushing 90% of that to-do list, right? You can do the same thing. You can either wake up at 3 a.m., 4 a.m., and 6 a.m. And I know right now your mind is saying, I'm definitely not waking up at 3 a.m. So later in the video, I'm going to share tips with you of how you can wake up in the morning at 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m. The easiest way possible, right? If you apply those steps exactly as I tell you, then it will be easier for you to wake up at 3 a.m. super motivated and super productive. So that's the first thing. You schedule the most important task or the high impact task in the morning. And then secondly, in your energy deep period, which is usually in the afternoon, then you do your lighter work, like maybe reviewing your notes or maybe watching a YouTube video on a specific concept if you want to learn a specific topic. So in the evening, which is your recharge time, what I want you to do is I want you to do work that's lightweight. So what you can do is you can do revision. Just look at what you did throughout the day, pull out some of those notes that you took in class and then try to revise them, try to kind of like consolidate your learnings for the day. Or what you can do is you can plan for the next day, right? Which is usually advisable to plan for the next day in the current day and say in the next day this is what I'm going to be tackling. And another thing you can do is you can do a relaxing task. So if I was in high school, what I do is I'll pick one of the languages, maybe read literature as entertainment, read those stories, that novel as entertainment. As much as I'm being productive, but I'm doing a task that is lightweight and doesn't require much brain power. So it's very important to prioritize your energy and not your time. Know when is your peak productivity period and then make sure that you schedule those difficult tasks then. And in your energy dip and in your recharge time, you make sure that you do some work which is lightweight. And number three, I made it red for a reason, the importance of sleep. Earlier, I mentioned that most people feel like mornings don't work for them because they're not fully rested in the morning. That's why they snooze their alarm for 1,000 times. So, if you want to ensure that it's easier for you to wake up at 3 a.m., fully motivated and fully productive, you must ensure that you are fully rested. And by fully rested, I usually mean sleeping between 7 to 9 hours. So, what you do is if you want to wake up at 3 a.m., 3 a.m. and then subtract 7 hours before, 8 hours before, and that's the time you have to sleep. So if you want to wake up at 3 a.m., let's say you have to sleep at 8 p.m. At first, it's gonna feel weird, right? Because you're sleeping at 8 p.m., everyone else is still watching Generations or they're still watching something else, and you're saying, I'm going to sleep. It's gonna feel weird. But know the end goal. The end goal is for you to wake up in the morning and have those peak productivity periods to yourself so that you can be able to crush your to-do list and do some high impact studying. So start sleeping at 8 p.m. I always say this, it's important to set your alarm to sleep than it is to set your alarm to wake up. Because what you realize is once you sleep at 8 p.m. every day, you don't even need to set an alarm to wake up at 4 a.m. At 4 a.m., your body will be fully rested and then you'll wake up. Setting an alarm will just be a formality so that you don't oversleep. But you'll realize that by the time you wake up, you are fully rested. Once you jump out of bed, you are fully rested. So ensure that you set that alarm to go to sleep. And because you're not used to sleeping at 8 p.m. or 9 p.m., here are a few tips to help you make it easier for you to sleep then, right? So I want you to wake up, let's say today you're seeing this video, sleep whatever time you can sleep, and then the next day wake up when you're fully rested or whatever time you have to wake up. But during the day, make sure that you try not to take any nap and you try to be as highly productive as you can during the day, meaning that you drain yourself. That by the time 8 p.m. hits or 9 p.m. hits, you're so tired to the point that you just want to go sleep, right? If you ensure that you don't take any naps during the day and you're highly productive during the day, then at 9 p.m. when you go to your bed, you'll be so tired that you'll want to rest. And another thing you can do to make it easier for yourself to sleep is take your phone, put it in a table far from your bed, right? So that you're not scrolling on your phone, you're not scrolling on TikTok, social media, Instagram. That will prevent you from sleeping. So put your phone far from your desk, switch off your light, and you can sleep. What I usually do is I just read a book during that time or read the Bible, and then after that, I can sleep. I'm not on my phone. I can easily sleep because I'm drained. I'm not on my phone, and the lights are off. I can just sleep. And you'll realize that once you start doing this, it will be easier for you to sleep. In the morning, the alarm rings at 4 a.m. You fully rested. You jump out of bed. You go take a phone. You switch off the alarm. You switch on the lights. And then the first thing I do most of the times is I have a set of rules, right? So I have rules that I've written in my note app and I screenshotted them and made them my wallpaper. So when I open my phone, the first thing I see is those daily rules. And the first rule is no social media before 1 p.m. This helps me because what I've realized is if you wake up and open social media first thing in the morning, your mind gets those dopamine rush, dopamine hits, and it will be difficult for you to switch to a less fun task like studying or working or whatever it is because now your brain is used to doing that easier entertaining thing which is scrolling on social media. So that rule is no social media before 1 p.m. And the second rule is I'll only use social media for 1 hour a day. I set a limit, and then if that limit hits, I choose to do something productive instead. So I wrote there only use social media for 1 hour a day. That's the limit. And then after you can do something productive but fun. Maybe read novels if you're in high school, or just go to YouTube and listen to a educational video. So that's how I entertain myself because I want to keep my mind engaged and not used to those uh, dopamine hits that I get from social media. So that's how you can ensure that you alter your sleeping schedule to ensure that you sleep every day at 8 p.m., 9 p.m., and make sure that by 3 a.m., 4 a.m., you are highly motivated and highly productive. And you can also get a cup of coffee first thing when you wake up to ensure that you skyrocket your productivity. So you can see that now we already have time in the morning during our peak productivity period to do some high impact studying. And be strict with your sleep schedule. I'm telling you, you don't need any morning routine. You don't need anything. You just need to sleep earlier to wake up earlier because once you fully rested, you'll be fully motivated in the morning. And another thing is you must plan your breaks and personal time. What I've seen most students do is they'll pack their schedules with only studying, right? But they never schedule their personal time. And that's why when your friends say, Blessing, let's go out now, you're supposed to be studying, but because you didn't plan for your personal time, then you can go there and be like, we can go. But once you plan your personal time, that gives you some sort of like satisfaction and structure because you know this is my time to be going out, this is my time to be studying. So if it's your time to be studying, you must be highly productive and you anticipating for that time whereby it's your personal time whereby you just scroll on social media with no guilt. You can watch a series with no guilt. But if you don't plan for those personal times, what you'll do is you'll end up taking them whenever you feel like it. You're going to be sitting in bed and be like, let me just watch one episode of a specific series, and then you're feeling guilty. You're watching this episode, you're not even enjoying it because you know that you're supposed to be studying. But once you start scheduling your personal time, then it's easier for you to have that satisfaction whenever you're studying, because you know that I'm studying now, but I know that between 9 p.m. or between 6 p.m. and 7 p.m., that's my personal time whereby I can do whatever I want to. And number five is you must have flexibility in your schedule. So you'll see it in the schedule that I'm going to build. There must always be some buffer time, meaning that I must build my schedule in a way that there's time to kind of like move things around if need be, right? So you're gonna see it when we build the schedule. And lastly is the power of to-do list. So I'm gonna also show you how to use to-do list after we've built the schedule, because to-do lists are a highly effective tool to ensure that you're productive for the day, and they give you a clear game plan for each and every day that you start. So let's jump into building the weekly schedule together. So we're going to use Google Calendar to build out our weekly schedule, but you can use whatever app you have. But if you have Gmail account, you definitely have Google Calendar. You just need to go to calendar.google.com on your laptop or your PC. And what's important is I want you to change this here. So if it's on day or month, change it to week so that you can see the weekly view of the calendar. So if you don't have Gmail or a Google Calendar, you can use Outlook if you have an Outlook email. I know Outlook also has a calendar on their app, and you can use whatever app you can find. You can even go to YouTube and search which apps can I use to build out my weekly schedule, and you'll find apps. So if you want to do it manually, you can do it via your pen and paper, draw out your schedule for the week, and also do that time blocking. But you're going to be using Google Calendar, and I've already placed some tasks here because I didn't want to waste your time. Therefore, I'm just going to speak through them. So the first thing I want you to go do is I want you to go block out time for those mandatory tasks, right? Block out time for the tasks that you don't have a choice, you have to do, right? Whether you like it or not. And one of them is going to school. So from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., I blocked out that time because I have to be at school. So after blocking out time for school, now you have to ask yourself, okay, cool, I want to make sure that I have personal study time in the morning whereby I'm at the highest productivity level possible. So I have to sleep early, right? So I'll say, okay, cool. What if I sleep at 8? What time will I wake up? If I sleep at 8, what time will I wake up if I'm fully rested, getting 7 hours of sleep? Just assume you're getting 7 hours of sleep because you have a lot of work to do, right? You're in high school or whatever it is, in university, and you want to get 7 hours of sleep. So if I sleep at 8, then I'll sleep at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I can get 7 hours of sleep and wake up at 3 a.m. That's reasonable, right? And first thing when I wake up, I block out that time, that first hour, to wake up and jump straight to the shower. So I always say this, you don't need hectic morning routines. Once you wake up, turn on your light, switch off the alarm, and go straight to the shower. Take a shower because you'll feel more refreshed and more awake. And then after that, you make yourself a cup of coffee, right? So that can take you 1 hour. To shower, it can take you 1 hour, and to make coffee can take you 1 hour. And you can just prep for school as well. Make sure that the books that you're living with and everything you're living with, it's there. You already have your uniform on and everything is sorted. You blocked out time and said, this is my strict sleeping time. And you also set an alarm to say at 8, I'm going to bed, non-negotiable. And I wake up at 3 a.m. to 4 a.m. I'm showering and I'm prepping for school, right? And I take my cup of coffee. 4 a.m. I have that peak productivity study session whereby I sit down for 3 hours straight and I'm just studying. Very important to use the Pomodoro technique whereby you set a timer for 50 minutes, you study, that's your deep work session, and then after that 50 minutes, you set another timer for 10 minutes, take a break. No social media, remember, no social media before 1 p.m., meaning that you're not using social media in those 10-minute breaks. In that 10 minutes break, you can just stand up, stretch, go to the kitchen, get a cup of water, and then come back, sit down, and next 50 minutes. And then after 50 minutes, 10 minutes break, and then the remaining time, you do another deep work session. And you realize that you have 3 hours to your day. And I'm telling you, with 3 hours, you can cover a lot of work. With 3 hours, I can cover the entire module, the entire topic in 3 hours. So now you have those times, those peak productivity times to yourself. And make sure that here you're tackling that high impact work, right? Those difficult courses, those subjects that have a lot of work. You're making sure that you're tackling them during your peak productivity period. And then 7 to 8, you also have another hour to eat and then travel to school, right? If you're traveling, if it takes you 30 minutes, 45 minutes, you have time to travel to school. You can play around with this. If you want to eat at 3 a.m., 4 a.m., you can do that. But most of the times I've figured that if you eat fast, then you might not be productive in your study session. But if you can eat and then be productive in your study session, that's great. And then between 7 and 8, you can just take a light snack, maybe a fruit or whatever, and then go to school. And then another thing, key thing I want to stress here is I said your peak productivity period is in the morning. Most students, they feel like they have to go to school to chill, right? When we get to school, if there's no teacher in class, then I'm going to do my be busy on TikTok, be busy on Instagram, busy watching Blessing. Don't do that, please. That's your peak productivity period. So you must ensure that you're utilizing it to the best of your ability. So when you get to class, make sure that you've done your homework the day before and you're asking a lot of questions, you're learning as much as you can because your brain is sharp then and you can retain information, right? You don't want to say, I'm just gonna study when I get home, because when you get home, you'll be tired. That will be your energy period and your recharge time. You'll be tired, so you won't be able to retain that much information. So in class, make sure that you ask a lot of questions. When the teacher is not there, pull out the book and just what I used to do is, because when the teacher was not there in class, people will make noise, right? So you can just pull out the maths book and try to solve maths problems, because I realized that with maths, you just need to be solving problems, right? And identifying those patterns. Or pull out one of your favorite courses and push that work so that you make sure that you're ahead of the curriculum. But make sure that during the morning, you highly productive, because that's your peak productivity time and your mind is at its sharpest. So in school here, we're making sure that we're taking stuff. If the teacher is not there, let's say first period 8 a.m., the teacher comes, maths teacher comes, it's usually at 8 a.m., they give you a homework. And then the third and fourth period, that English teacher doesn't come to class, or the LO teacher, because they don't like coming to class, doesn't come to class. Therefore, you can use that time to say, hey, let me write that maths homework, get some work done, so that I know when I get home I have less to do, and therefore I can easily rest early so that I can wake up in the morning. Remember, you strict with your sleeping time. So make sure that during your school time here, you're maximizing it as best as you can. You're not going to school to chill. You're going to school to make sure that you're getting as much work done as possible. Remember, I said be hyper productive during the day so that you can be drained by the time your sleeping time comes. And now we're coming back from school. So I'm just gonna move this one. So if you didn't see, to kind of like add a task, because I didn't show you how to add a task, you can double click and then it will show you this tab, and then you can name it and say maybe like come back from school and uh, house chores. I don't know how they spell it, but yeah, you can do, I'm just gonna call it home things. So you can come back from school and then you can do home things, meaning that if you have to clean, you have to wash your uniform, if you have to cook or whatever it is, you can do it between when you come back from school, 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. So here I'm factoring in the fact that you might need to travel as well back from school, right? I'm not going to put it directly in my calendar, but I'm factoring that in, meaning that by 6 p.m., you must be done with all these things if you do them. If you don't do them, nice, that's your time. You can just rest, or you can make sure that you get homework out of the way. So I have to wait. In this step, another thing, you must look at where it says does not repeat. Whichever app you're using, just figure out how you do that, and then you say it repeats every weekday, and then save. And I've blocked out that time. And here to here, I'm doing my home work. All right, yeah. Let me just say homework. So I'm doing my homework. I'm doing my homework every weekday from 7 to 8 p.m. So I blocked that out to say do my homework. 2 hours, make sure that I do my homework. My principle for homeworks, I always said homeworks, you apply knowledge that you've learned before. So write as quickly as you can, right? Make sure that you apply your mind, but you being as efficient as you can. If there's something you don't understand, skip it. Make sure that you write everything that you understand first, and then after you can go consult your textbook, you can go do research on that and try to come up with an answer. But the whole point of the homework to say, go see how much you've learned, go see how much you can answer, and then tomorrow in class you're going to tackle anything that you had a challenge with. So make sure that during that homework period, you ensure that you writing as efficiently as possible. If something you don't know, you skip it. I'm not saying go to school with an empty homework. Try your best. If something you don't know it, rather try your best. Guess, say if I was in a test or exam, this is what I was going to put down. Next day in class, you asking question, teacher, there you said we do it like this. Why? Or this is how I did it. Don't be scared to make mistakes. If you were perfect, you wouldn't be in school, right? The fact that you're in school means that you dare to learn. So if you say, yeah, teacher, this is how I did it, and you got it wrong, the teacher will correct you, and that's how you learn. And I'm telling you, you come up at the top by the time there's a test or exam because you've learned through your mistakes as much as you can. So now our day is filled. Remember, this is not a fixed structure. In the morning, that's our deep work session. You might not finish homeworks during this period. You can finish them in the morning during your deep work period. But ensure that you're as efficient as possible when it comes to homeworks. And when you're doing them, you apply your mind, but being efficient. Study session, peak productivity, that's when you ensure that you're applying your mind, you analyzing, you're doing things that you didn't get because that's when you're at the peak of your productivity. As you see now, we no longer have that much time, but we can go to weekends now and say, oh, Saturday, I don't need to wake up in the morning. I don't need to wake up at 3 a.m. Right? Saturday, I can just sleep late, meaning that I can schedule this time as Friday as personal time, meaning that here I'm basically um, until, let's say, 11 p.m. only on Friday, right? Weekly on Friday, meaning that here I'm watching a series, I'm scrolling on TikTok because that's my own personal time. And I can sleep later on Friday, and then by 8 a.m. I'm up, so I can wake up at 8 a.m. Wake up, shower, and prep to study, right? Or prep for day. So it's very important to try and prep for your day the day before. So you just prep for the day, but I'll tell you how you can prep for your day the day before. And I'll say this one repeats every Saturday, and this is from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. That's when I wake up. So I wake up every day at that time. I need to make it the same color as the others. I think it's blue. All events. Yeah, it's blue, but you make it the same color. So I wake up at 8 p.m. If I have anything to do, let's say I'm interested, want to start a business, or anything, I have a hobby or whatever I want to dedicate to myself. I want to learn how to code, I want to learn how to do video editing, I want to be a YouTuber, I want to make videos. This is the best time to do it, Saturday morning, right? You at the peak of your productivity, you can tackle it first, because if you wait until the end of the day, and I'm making this video for this entrepreneurship program as well, if you procrastinate on this and say I'm going to do it at the end of the day, you won't feel like it at the end of the day, because you at your recharge time period, right? Your energy levels are so low that you're like, this is not compulsory, this is not schoolwork, so I'll just do it some other day. So if you tackle it in the morning first and say, I'm just going to give myself a mere 3 hours, you don't need to be doing this if you're not part of the entrepreneurship program that I have, or the one that we're running for high school students. Then you don't need to do this, right? You can use this time to study, to do some more studying, so that you can be a top performer. But we can say, oh, okay, cool, this is my entrepreneurship, or work on my business idea. You can give yourself 3 hours. Trust me, you only need 3 hours a week to do the work. If you can sit down for that full 3 hours and you do the assignments that we give you, then you won't need any more time. But if you do need more time, you can also dedicate another 2 hours in the morning the following day. But for now, that's all we need. And you take a break here. Take a break after the entrepreneurship thing. And then you go to studying. Go to studying from 1 p.m. until, I'll say, a 4-hour study session. You're doing more deep work here because you spend the day doing something that you love doing, which is entrepreneurship and business idea. And then here you're doing more studying. And then from 4 p.m., no, not 4 p.m., from 5 p.m., you can do housework, right? If you have to do housework, you can just dedicate yourself 2 hours to do housework. I'm no longer following the color scheme, but you get the picture, right? The colors will help you to kind of like separate between the tasks, but just because of time, I'm not going to use colors that much. So we have housework, and then light study. Here you're reading a novel, you're doing homeworks or homeworks. Remember, I said homeworks, you're just trying to be as effective as you can, efficient as you can. And we say from 7 to 10. And then we sleep. We sleep. Weekly on Saturday. So don't forget to make it weekly on Saturday every time, so that it can automatically place itself in future weeks, so that when you go in future weeks, you don't need to set it up again. You see, this ones I didn't put them weekly on Saturday, therefore I'll need to go and change all of them and make them weekly on Saturday. Weekly on Saturday. Weekly on Saturday, and you can do that with the rest. And then now you see that I had a jam-packed Saturday. And Sunday I slept around 10. I can wake up somewhere around 8 again. Wake up, more sleeping time, as you can see, more sleeping time on weekends. Wake up, prep for day, meaning that sometimes what I do is I prep for church because I go to church sometimes. And then from 9 I can go to church. If you go to church in the morning until, so it's 9, let's say until 12, weekly on Sunday. Don't forget that. And then lunch. You see that I didn't put, another mistake that we do is we forget to put our time to eat. So you must make sure that you factor that in as well. So from 12 to 2, from 12 to 2. So here I'll wake up at 8 a.m. I'll shower here, I'll make sure that I eat, and then after I go to church in that hour. And when I come back, I do housework and I eat lunch. And then from 2 p.m. what I do is I study or home work, and then I just put it for 5 hours. I'll do it for 5 hours. Don't forget to say repeat on Sundays. And here, plan for the next day and week. So here I'm planning for the next day or week from 7 to 8 p.m. And here, Sunday, I go back to my strict sleep schedule. Because remember, I have that 3 a.m. strict sleep schedule. Because remember, I have that 3 a.m. study session in the morning. So you see how I build my weekly schedule. So another thing I want to emphasize, because one of the things we spoke about is having flexibility in your schedule. Like, for example, this Sunday study session here, we said study or homework, or we can say personal time for relaxing, right? So what this does is, if you finish all your work by Saturday, let's say it's Sunday now, 2 p.m., and you like, I don't have anything because I've covered most of the topics that were assigned for the week or we're supposed to do this week, and I understand them, and I don't have any homeworks. I finished all my homeworks Friday afternoon or Saturday when I was doing my homework. So I'm done with homeworks. So then I can have personal time. So that's how you structure your thing for flexibility, because you're saying, if I don't have anything to study, you'll know deep down whether you're done doing everything that was assigned for that week. If I don't have any homework, I can have personal time. Or I can just say, let me just take the first 2 hours and just study ahead, and then the next 3 hours, me relaxing, watching a series or doing whatever it is, because relaxing, spending time with family is really important. So that's why I'm saying your schedule must have some sort of flexibility to say, if I don't need to be doing this, then I'll do this. During the week, I make sure that I have time, wake up, eat, and do all those kind of things, but I ensure that I have my peak productivity study period. And then after that, I just come back, I do homework. So I'm on pilot mode basically during the week. And weekends, that's when I have some flexibility. I can schedule in time to do what I love here. So if you're not in the entrepreneurship program, then you don't need to be doing this. And the church, if you don't go to church, then it's more time to do what you love. You can either do work on an idea, work on being a YouTuber, work on video editing, or you can just do some deep work here in the morning, because you must make sure that during your peak productivity periods, you're taking advantage of those. So this is how you build your weekly schedule. So how does a to-do list work, right? So here, when I plan for the next day, every day before you sleep, what I need you to do is, I want you to plan for the next day using a to-do list. So you can use a piece of paper or your note app and just write the things that you want to tackle tomorrow. Like, let's say it's Sunday evening and we're planning for Monday. You see that you just said study peak productivity. This is not clear. So you must have a plan before you even wake up on the next day. So what you do is you write that tomorrow, write the date, here's my to-do list. First thing I need to study is, I need to study sequences and series for mathematics, do two practice questions or two questions from a past paper on sequences and series. So now you have a clear plan, right? And say, these are my to-do list for tomorrow. If you have an assignment you need to do maybe like per day of this assignment. And once you have a list of that, when you wake up during the study period, you're not gonna waste 30 minutes trying to think, what should I do? Touching a maths book and be like, maths is boring. Touching accounting and say, accounting is boring, because you've already decided. There's no emotions involved there. You wake up, you say, oh, I said I'm gonna do one question in accounting. Pull that past paper. You be as specific as you can. Even say, I'm gonna do one question paper, one question from the 2020 past paper final exam. Pull that question paper and start doing it, right? You have a plan. And school, you also have that to-do list. When the teacher doesn't come, you just look, oh, I have this assignment I have to do. Let me start brainstorming. Let me start writing that essay, brainstorming topics, doing a mind map, so that I can ensure that I'm getting a step closer to building that schedule. And you come back from school, you have your homework. So in class, when they say, oh, this homework, you write it down. Okay, maths homework. There's this. So by the time you come back from school, you say, okay, cool. Now it's my homework time. I can easily start doing that thing in my to-do list. And the more you tick them off, the more satisfaction you get that you being productive. If I'd advise you, can even get a diary whereby you can see the to-do list for the different dates as you write them each day, to see that, hey, yeah, I wasn't productive. Tomorrow I have to do better. So that's one thing that you can do by using to-do list. So I hope you found this video very valuable and you learned a lot. Make sure that you like this video, you comment down below and tell me what are your thoughts, and you subscribe so that we grow the community together. And I really appreciate you for watching until the end. Cheers.